We are going to be doing congruent figures. Alright, congruent polygons are polygons that have the same size and shape. You remember that polygons are closed-sided figures with 3 or more sides, okay? A polygon is a 3 or more sided closed figure. Alright, congruent means the same measure. So that means we've got 2 polygons, 3 or more closed-side figure, that have the same measure. Okay, that's what congruent means. This is the symbol that means is congruent to. So whenever you see an equal sign with a wavy line above it, that means is congruent to. So when 2 polygons are congruent, you can slide, flip, or turn one so that it fits exactly on top of the other. So we start with this one, and we move this one over there on top of it. And let's see, it doesn't seem to fit, does it? So let's see if we turn it, what will happen. Nope. Won't fit. You can always see red underneath it. Okay, so that one's not congruent. Let's try this one. Alright, this one, let's see if we turn it, if it'll fit. Okay, I think we've got it. See, that one's congruent. That's what congruence means. That if you put one on top of the other, all you see is one figure. And then this one, nope, not congruent because it's not the same size. Okay, so we only have one congruent figure, this one. Alright, whenever you have congruent figures, you'll also have congruent parts. Okay, and one of the ways you can tell congruent parts is by what we call tick marks. Let me write that for you. Tick marks. Okay, that's these little things right here. Okay, so when you see one tick mark here and one tick mark here, that means that AD is congruent to RV. And when you see 4 here and 4 here, that means AB is congruent to VT. And the same with angle D and angle R. Okay? So let's see if we can find the corresponding parts on this one. On the sides, we start with AB. All right, what is congruent to segment AB? By the way, this means segment AB. You got to put the segment line above it to make it read that way, okay? So segment AB is congruent to, so we've got segment AB, 4 marks over here, so we can write segment TV or VT. It doesn't matter which order you put it in. Segment BC. All right, we've got segment BC here. It's congruent to, right, ST over here. Or TS. I get it backwards both times. Okay, so then we've got CD is congruent to, I bet I get it backwards this time too, SR. Oh, I got it right that time. And then finally, we've got DA, which has 1 tick mark, and RV. And we got that one right too. Okay, so what you can do at this, well, let's go ahead and do this, the angles. I didn't write angles here at the top, so let me do that. These are the angles on this side. So angle A, we come over here and angle A, well, we've got a mark here on D and R, so we'll start with D and R. We've got D corresponds to 1 tick mark, 1 tick mark. D corresponds to R. Okay? So how do we figure out what the other ones are? Okay, D is right here at the bottom of the short side. R is at the bottom of the short side. So at the top of the short side is C, and at the top of the short side is S. So C goes with S. At the top of the long side, we've got B and T. And so that leaves us with A and V. Alright, so now we've got to write a congruent statement. A congruent statement tells you that one figure is congruent to the other figure. So we take our information here, we do the angles is the easiest part. A, B, C, D, and we make it congruent to V, T, S, R. And that's how we write our congruent statement. So figure A, B, C, D is congruent to figure V, T, S, R. And one of the cool things about this is whenever you have a congruent statement, it tells you everything over here without even having to look at a figure. If I tell you that ABCD is congruent to VTSR, then you know that angle A is congruent to angle V, angle B is congruent to angle T, angle C is congruent to angle S, and angle D is congruent to angle R. At the same time, you know that segment AB is congruent to segment VT. See it over here? And you know that segment BC is congruent to segment TS. See that? So you don't even have to look at these sometimes. If you have the congruent statement, you can figure out which ones of these are congruent, which parts are congruent to each other. All right, write a congruent statement for the congruent figures at the left. All right, let's see now. We've got angle K. Angle K is congruent to, yes, we've got one tick mark here on angle K and one tick mark here on angle K. So there's an angle K in both of them, okay? Then over here we've got angle L is congruent to, angle L is congruent to angle N. It's important that you go in order, by the way, no matter what, if you can start at P or K or L or A. But if you do, you've always got to go in order. You've got to go K, L, A, P, or you can go K, P, A, L, but you can't skip. You can't go from K to A like that. You've always got to go in order. So we've got angle L is congruent to angle N. Then we've got angle A is congruent to three tick marks, angle S. And then finally we've got angle P, and just by default, since all the others are congruent to each other, that means that P is congruent to P. And we can write our congruent statement. We've got K, L, A, P is congruent to K, N, S, P. K, N, S, P. All right, your turn. Write a congruent statement for the pair of congruent triangles. Pause the video, work out the congruent statement, and then come back to me. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. We've got angle B. Angle B is congruent to, here's angle B, is congruent to angle Y because it has two tick marks also. Angle Y. Angle R is congruent to angle D, one tick mark. And angle C is congruent to angle C because there's the last one in the triangles, so they have to be equal, but also because they are vertical angles, and so they have to be equal to each other. So we write our congruent statement. We write triangle B R C is congruent to triangle Y D C. Now you could have had it in a different order. You could have had RCB and DCY. As long as the B matches up with the Y, the R matches up with the D, and the C matches up with the C. I hope that you got that. All right, find each measure. It tells you that LMRD is congruent to TXND. So we know that these two are congruent to each other. So that means corresponding parts are congruent to each other. Okay? So let's look at this. CM is the shortest side. So we look over here at the shortest side. That's XT. So we know that XT is going to be 1.4. Okay? Let's see if there's anything else we can figure out. 104 is this big angle right here. It's an obtuse angle. Where's an obtuse angle over here? Right, 104 degrees right here. So that leaves 86 degrees for the other angle, 86 degrees. Same thing over here. If this one's 108, then that means this one has to be 108 because it's the only other obtuse angle over here. And 62 degrees is an acute angle, so it matches up right here. Now, how do you figure out the sides? Opposite the 86 degrees is 1.6 centimeters. So opposite the 86 degrees is 1.6 centimeters. Okay? Do we have anything? All of the ones done over here are done. And then over here we've got, we need this LC. LC is opposite 108. Opposite 108 is 1.7. So now we can come over here and the measure of angle N. And we look over here, that's 104. This means the measure, the distance from R to M. If there's no line above it, if there was a line above it, it would be segment RM. But this means the distance from R to M. From R to M, right here. Oh, we don't have that written down. So that's opposite the 62 and the 86. 62 and 86, 0.9. So here we go, 0.9 centimeters. Measure of angle C is 86 degrees. The distance from X to T is 1.4. The measure of angle T is 86 degrees. The distance from N to D is 1.6. The measure of angle M is 108 degrees. And the distance from C to L is 1.7 centimeters. Okay, there we go. And that's what I do is I fill out the missing measures first, and then I come back over here and I fill in what they're asking for.